longer. I can't wear this mask any longer. Don't feel I'm getting stronger. Had it on so long, I don't recognize who I am. The world doesn't really know me. Whenever I try to show me, they scratch their heads cause they don't even know really who I am. Allow me the time to introduce who I am to me once again. One day, I think I will know him better, and then maybe we'll get together so I can introduce myself to you once again. Can't wear this mask any longer. There should be me getting stronger. I yearn to know exactly how it feels to be free. Can't let my fears control me. For too long allowed it to hold me. From the end was meant to be. Now I'm here. Then I stop thinking about the things of me. I'm afraid. Oh, at this point in my life, I gotta get out of what the uncertainty. I understand what's certainly not for me. I love everybody. So so the song you're listening to right now is the song is called Man. Turn into the song the world has me. If you feel like I feel, just say. All right, let's fade the music because they say they can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hey, man, when the music is playing, you can't hear me. Can't hear me over the music. Isn't that fitting, huh? Isn't that fitting? Couldn't hear me over the music. I'm your boy, Eric Roberson. Welcome to Music and Mental Health. This is going to be beautiful. I said this a second ago, but you couldn't hear me, so I'll say it again. I have some amazing guests to talk to today. We're going to have some deep and important and impactful conversations. I'm excited about it. I do need to see this chat room rocking tonight. I was just commenting to everybody who was saying stuff, sick in the head, Lynette, Tahira, Sire, Tanya, everybody in here. I need to see that chat room dancing. I need to see emojis, comments, testimonies. If you have questions, if you have compliments, if you have whatever you want to put in there, let's have some fun. Let's communicate. I can see it. I can't promise that I'll reply to everything, but I'll do my best because we want to just have a good time and we want to make everybody feel better. What's up, Red Butterfly? I like that. Red Butterfly, I like that. Renee, what's up? Then let's go. Hey, party people. Okay, so listen, let's get it started. Listen, I'm ready. I want to bring on... So last year, I was at this amazing walk in Columbus, Ohio. And right before the walk, I did this podcast. And during the podcast, we talked about transparency, putting too much anxiety on ourselves. And I had just wrote this song called Mask. And I said, hey, I would love for you guys, if you need it, here's a song I want to send to you. And they loved it so much they licensed it to use this campaign called Mask Off. I want to just get into it right now. I want to start by doing a quick introduction over two amazing men. The first one is Brother Kenny Hampton, who is the president of the African American Male Wellness Agency, the health and wellness arm of the National Center for Urban Solutions, which focuses on holistically supporting Black men and their families. He is a Detroit native, a former pro athlete turned entrepreneur, award-winning speaker, and best author of the book, The Underdog Mentality. We got it in the room. Look at that. Look at that. He is joined by what we call the solution man, Brother John Gregory. Stands as a national acclaimed motivational speaker, author of the book, 8 Things I Learned from Oprah. We got that book too. 8 things I've learned from Oprah. We need to dig into that. He is the founder and CEO of the National Center of Urban Solutions and the African American Male Wellness Agency. His legacy is etched in groundbreaking initiatives that redefine the social narrative. Through his innovative projects, over 8,000 women have transitioned from public assistance to self-sufficiently via workforce training and employment opportunities. First of all, let's give a hand clap for that. Moreover, his tireless efforts have empowered thousands of African American men economically and paved the way for hundreds of youth to secure their high school diplomas. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring on Kenny Hampton and John Gregory. Let's do that. My brothers, how are y'all doing?
Hey, what's going on, E? We doing great. How about you?
I'm doing phenomenal. I'm glad I was able to get through that bio in one take without stuttering and think that just very, very powerful. I thank you for these 2 amazing books as well. You know, I love to read. So I'm just looking forward to really just chopping it up. Let's just start with just how we met and how it launched into this Mask Off project. Just tell everybody about the walks that you do and the what is it called? The most exciting, fun doctor's appointment you'll ever have.
Yes, the African American Male Wellness Agency, we pride ourselves on holistically supporting African American men and their families. We bring the clinic to the community, just trying to extend life expectancy of Black men. And so, yes, we have a 17-city wellness tour that is allowing us to bring a doctor's appointment to Black men. We say it's the most fun you'll ever have at a doctor's appointment because Black men are dying at the age of 67 years old on average. And we're just saying not on our watch. So we have an idea of, or a concept that is proven to take the edge off what's really happening at our 5K walk and run, because we have live music, we have entertainment, vendors. It's really a fun, festive event for the family that's free. And it's something that Mr. Gregory and his incredible vision has really just exploded over the last few years, where we're up to 17 cities across the country. And so, Mr. Gregory, what do you think about the work that we're doing in the space of these wellness events that's making so much noise and it's actually impacting lives across this country?
I'm a person that likes to validate the reason why we do something. Last year, we screened 5,000 men across the country, of which 85% of those men we screened had high blood pressure. And the phenomenal thing about that was 56% of the men didn't even know they had high blood pressure. So what that equates to is that half of the men who found out they had high blood pressure could have dropped dead unknowingly. And so what we are doing is really creating, just like they created a breast cancer awareness campaign with the Susan Komen, what we have done is now create an awareness campaign that Black men can live longer if they, go to the doctor, know their numbers, and move, because we die too prematurely of preventable diseases. And in partnership with that, we started an organization. Part of our organization is we do Uplift Her, because Black women equally die 4 times more likely to die from cardiovascular disease, 3 times more likely to die from breast cancer, and 4 times more likely to die from maternal health. And I learned earlier today that menopause, Black women are impacted more with menopause. So when we take this whole concept idea, going from the clinic to the community, what we're doing is extending the life expectancy of Black people.
I love it. We're going to unpack this even more. You guys are doing phenomenal work. It's been a blessing in this last year. I've had you over my house. I've cooked pancakes for you. We'll talk about that.
Pancakes is good.
The best pancakes in the country.
Hey, they said it, not me. They said it, not me. But we'll get into that in a second. Amen. I have another friend I'd love to bring on real quick. I'm going to introduce her, and I'm looking forward to this three-way conversation where all these powerful, positive, productive things can really intersect. I had the fortunate opportunity of first meeting Shanti Das, I believe at noontime in Atlanta. She probably doesn't even remember this. But Shanti Das is an accomplished entertainment industry veteran, speaker, and author of the book Silence the Shame, as well as, I'm going off top, the Hip Hop Professionalist 2.0. I have to have that in my memory. Has worked in the entertainment business for over 25 years, from intern to executive vice president, including promotion and marketing positions at Capitol Records, LaFace Records, Columbia Records, and others, including Universal Motown, where she worked directly with Outkast, Usher, Prince, TLC, Tony Braxton, Erykah Badu, and more. God. She has been very transparent about suffering from depression and anxiety over the years, and has also experienced loved ones affected with mental health disorders. This led her to step away from the labels in 2009 to begin using her pain for purpose in Atlanta, Georgia, and beyond. She is the founder of the nonprofit organization Silence the Shame, Inc., which curates community conversations in care, wellness training, and broadens awareness and education over mental health and wellness. The organization has received global awareness and has become commonly used as a hashtag in normalizing the conversation in America. In 2018, May 5th became known as National Silence the Shame Day. Ladies and gentlemen, I also like to bring to the stage Shanti Das. Yes, hey Shanti, how are you doing? So Shanti, please meet my brothers John Gregory as well as Kenny Hampton. You guys, please, my sister Shanti Das, thank you for joining us as well. It's a pleasure to have you on here. So I'm gonna ask you a question also, and then we're gonna jump into a three-way conversation. Can we dive in a little bit more about the importance to silence the shame, just for those in the back who need to understand how often we amplify the shame and how important it is to silence it? Can you just talk about that just for a brief second? Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
We hear you, yep.
Sorry about that. First of all, thank you for having me on with you tonight. You know, I'm a fan of all that you do, and I appreciate what you mean to our community. Just so thank you. And when I heard about your song Mask, I was like, oh my God, that is so exciting, because I love when our men, especially our Black men, can open up, right, and talk openly and unapologetically about their mental health. And so when you talk about silencing the shame, I think traditionally just, you know, us as African Americans and in the Black community, you know, it's been a long run for us in terms of being able to really normalize the conversation and talk about it. If you think back to the days of slavery, it was really crazy when we would try to break free. Our masters would say that we were mentally ill, and there was actually a term called drapetomania. And so I think, you know, there was a lot of shame and stigma even back from the days of slavery as it relates to like us being open about our mental health and being able to get the help that we need. And so fast forward, a lot of those same stigmas still exist and are prevalent. I think since the pandemic, you know, we've all have noticed that we all have mental health. We may not all have a mental illness. And so I think people were identifying with stress and anxiety a lot more, and more of our younger generation have been opening up and talking about it, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Suicide rates are still climbing in the African American community. People are still suffering in silence. And so that is why I started my initiative, Silence the Shame, so that we could open up and normalize this conversation. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more, but, you know, I walked away from my career in 2010 and started doing some consulting. And then I had my best friend took her own life right after I had talked to her in 2014. And I came close to taking a lot of pills and taking my own life in 2015. Not embarrassed about it, not one of my proudest moments, but definitely not embarrassed and not ashamed. And so I had to silence my own shame. And that is why I really dedicated my life to this work in mental wellness and really trying to help and heal particularly vulnerable communities and communities of color.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss, but I'm also thankful for your strength and your transparency. So this is great. I'm looking forward to diving in a lot more. Let's start with this because Brother Gregory and Brother Kenny touched on it as well. Open to each one of you, whoever would like to answer this, but can you share with us how the physical numbers, blood pressure and things of that nature correlate with our mental health? And are there things that we put into action to prioritize Black people knowing their numbers? And is there a correlation between our numbers being off and anxiety and depression and things of that nature? Anyone would like to jump in? Feel free.
Well, what we know is that Black men ages 16 to 24 have the highest incidence of suicide. We also know that Black men age 40 and over have the highest incidence of opiate overdose. We know these things are mental wellness issues, but with that, correlating that is, when you say 85% of Black men have high blood pressure, well, where is that high blood pressure coming from? It's coming from things that create stress. And we know that stress is one of the main causes of high blood pressure. So we know your physical well-being is directly correlated with your mental wellness. And so if you are not well mentally, then your physical well-being, your heart, your blood pressure, which impacts your heart, is greatly impacted. That is why our campaign, Mask Off, is really, last year our campaign was It's Okay to Talk. This year we said, now we got you talking. Now we want you to take the mask off, because so many Black men, and you can see we have with us these masks, as we are having these men go through this mask exercise, they really say things, how to make people see you. But when we start talking about how they see them behind, you hear men say, I'm depressed. I'm on the verge of suicide. We've been in so many different meetings where men who are on high blood pressure, you've been surprised how many Black men are on high blood pressure medication. But when you look in behind these masks and they tell you that the anxiety they have, the fears that they have, then it's directly related to their physical well-being.
Can you hold up one of the masks? I think it's hidden behind your names, but just showing everybody an example. So they actually write down aspects, and then turn the inside. Is there stuff written on the inside as well?
Absolutely. And so on the back of this young man's mask, he shared that he's dealing with pain and he has hurt. But on the front of it, you see son, speaker, servant, leader, philanthropist, believer, coach, brother. So a lot of our men are masking, and we see these great things that our men are doing. But behind these masks, what we're seeing consistently is that there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of liars, a lot of cheaters. And what we're trying to do is we're really trying to help our men understand that we're exposing you to talk therapy. So let's self-disclose. Let's figure out how we can work together so that we can be better. We can be able to identify some of the things that's holding us back and holding us down. But more importantly, freeing ourselves from the chains of pain and hurt and depression and anxiety just by simply having conversation. Most of our men are finding so much comfort in being able to have a safe environment to just simply talk.
Yeah.
I was one of the individuals that a couple of years ago, I had high blood pressure, still dealing with high blood pressure, but I was refusing to even admit that I was one of those individuals walking around with it. Didn't want to take the medication.
Right.
And I'm in a space where I had to mature. I had to shift that paradigm and realize that that was a reckless and immature way of living. And so I want our men to understand that through self-disclosure, so many of us are become free.
But I think that what you want to really talk about is the fact that you had to also figure out that you were living a life of thinking that you were perfection.
Absolutely.
You were living a perfectionist life. You was trying to live, because in the Black community, you better not say nothing outside the household, and you better not put nothing about your business, and you better be a man, and you better be strong. And what Kenny was able to reveal as he dealt with his high blood pressure at the age of 38 was that he was living a life of being a perfectionist. That everything he did had to be perfect, and he couldn't disappoint anybody. He couldn't disappoint his mother. He couldn't disappoint his father. He couldn't disappoint his wife. He couldn't disappoint the community. So he was walking around with a perfectionist face, but at the same time, behind that was this other thing, which was really the thing that was driving up his blood pressure.
Right. That's very true. That perfectionist addiction that I had was, I would say, the root cause of my elevated blood pressure. Constantly thinking that I needed to be on, that I needed to be perfect, that I needed to be on target, when I simply just wasn't allowing myself to be real and just understand that perfectionism, it's not even possible. It's a lie.
Right.
Real Miracle Talk allow us to get that out there, Eric. And as you've been able to see across the country, brothers are sharing that they're dealing with perfectionism, but we're helping them free themselves from the chains of perfectionism.
Perfectionism is something we probably can talk about all night. You know, it's very, very tough. It's so interesting, the layers, like even in Silence the Shame, where a brother will have high blood pressure, but they're ashamed of it. Therefore, they hide the fact that, or ignore the fact that they need medicine or need to try to work on lowering their high blood pressure. Therefore, they're adding to the numbers. And I know that's not what Silence the Shame is, but there's so many layers, right? Because we have to also, in perfectionism, we have to change our perception of what some of these things mean, right? So having high blood pressure is a signal of something that you need to work on and improve, not something that you need to mask and hide from someone. Shanti, going to you as well. You left the industry after multiple years of working. Do you feel like you were wearing a mask to some degree in what you were dealing with, what you were suffering with? Do you feel like was it possible to stay in the industry, or do you feel like the issues that you were dealing with were not being addressed or not being allowed to exist in the industry that you were working in?
That's a great question, Eric. So I think it's also important to add that my father took his own life when I was 7 months old. So there was like this cloud over my life for a very long time, even though I had a really successful career and worked at a label almost 20 years and then consulting, another 5 years. And so, I was working 18, 20-hour days, like so many of us are in the industry, on and off of airplanes from Atlanta to New York to LA. And it was just, all about how hard you worked, how many hours you worked, #team no sleep. And so the industry wasn't talking about self-care. They weren't talking about wellness. They, our colleagues weren't like, oh, did you make your doctor's appointment? And of course, you're younger, you're feeling better, you're more energetic. But, I just hate that these self-care conversations weren't more prevalent then. I remember my first kind of meltdown at the airport where I was crying. I was really frustrated. Was in 2000, right after I had moved to New York City. And I was in a more corporate music environment working at a larger label. And, my boss at the time was condescending. He was yelling all the time. And so I didn't know how to deal with that pressure, that stress and anxiety. And so it started, affecting me from a physical perspective. And I was breaking out, and I was really stressed out all the time. And again, wasn't doing anything about it. I didn't even know that we could go to HR and ask for help. I don't even know if EAP programs existed back then or within our company. So it wasn't in the vernacular, it wasn't in the culture from an industry perspective. And then when you look at organizations like Music Cares, which is the foundation arm of the Grammys, back then I thought Music Cares was for white people. I know that sounds ignorant. I know that's, probably a dumb thing to say now. Obviously, I know better now, but, I didn't know Music Cares was there to help us, or we could get support, in any way that we needed. So to answer your question, no, I didn't know what support was there. And I don't know that had I, been able to deal better with my mental health, would I have stayed in music? Because I do feel like everything happens for a reason, and God has me in this space to now kind of go back and help my community within music and the greater community at large. But I can definitely say it was more difficult for me navigating. And I think that's why I walked away and made a really tough decision, because I just couldn't pull it all together.
Right. I think it was for the better. And I think everybody's answer would be different. Let's get into some aspects of just in productivity. I think one thing we talked about with with Brother Gregory and Brother Hampton, of just the transparency of conversation. But what are some of the steps that you guys can share that can help move towards a better mental health for someone that's in corporate America or in a high pressured work environment, or the responsibilities you talk about, the people that were in some of the mask off campaigns that, exercise we've been doing have been pastors that are just way down, right? Just being a father of kids of today, or trying to wear the responsibility of being a mom and balancing that with work and things of nature. Are there some things that you guys practice personally, even in releasing perfectionism, that could be helpful to some of the people that are viewing? And I'll say for me, I'll just do this first. Before I even knew it, songwriting was my first therapist, right? So being in the music business was important to be in the music business, but it was also very important for me to have a creative outlet in the music business, because just singing songs was not enough for me. Getting in the studio and really working out my thoughts was brought me balance in a large part of my life. So there were certain sacrifices that I made business wise because I wanted to stay in this certain area that helped me spiritually, helped me physically, and helped me emotionally. But if there's some things for you guys who may not necessarily be music creators that you do that might could help some of the people that are viewing to help with your mental health.
Here's what I suggest for everybody: it's find a person who you can talk to. Everybody should find a person who they can go talk to.
Yeah.
Really, what people don't realize, if just talking it out is a therapeutic method of getting to a better space. People don't talk. And so when they don't talk, that stuff builds up inside of them. And a lot of times people end up self-medicating themselves through alcohol, through drugs, or to other things. And it's kind of sad to say is that the increase in the number of Black men that are committing suicide, or even the number of Black men that are overdosing on opiates, all of that is because they have not been able to find a person to release to. So I would tell everybody, the first thing you want to do is find a confidant. Bishop Jake said, you got to have a confidant in your life, somebody who you can go talk to, who's not going to judge you, who's going to let you be you, and then be honest with you, and give you your feedback. And so I would say that's the first step, is to find a person that you can talk to.
And it has to be the right person. You just can't talk to anybody. That was a good point. You said it can give you feedback and give you something. So, yeah.
Because I don't think I answered your question thoroughly. Was I wearing a mask? Yes. I was embarrassed to tell anybody that I was suffering. And I think the music industry, it's a very aspirational kind of, can be a braggadocious type industry. Something we love. We have a good time, but we're always like sticking our chests out and popping our collars and, being the best that we can be. But, it really wasn't the type of culture where we could promote wellness, and particularly talking about mental health, because, people definitely saw that as a sign of weakness. So if you were an artist or creative, you didn't want to risk, a label or an artist not hiring you as a writer, or people thinking you're at risk that you can't go out and promote the album. Or if you're an executive, worrying about somebody taking your spot and using that as a sign of weakness. So I will say to you, it was a lot of my colleagues, when they found out I was suffering, one, they were surprised because I hid it very well. I wore that mask for a very long time as if I was okay. And especially when I almost came close to taking my own life, I think everybody was really in shock because they were like, oh my God, I thought you were good.
Yeah.
She said something that was very powerful, and I'm going to reiterate it. It's just not in the industry, it's life. When you think in terms of the Black men that we see, these are men who have college degrees, who are working jobs, who are pastors of churches. We all live a very braggadocious life. I don't know if I pronounced that word right, but we all live in, like Kenny said, a world of perfection. Nobody wants to admit that I am weak. When we have guys that are in the room who says, I'm a pastor. We had a guy in our last session, he said, I'm a pastor of the church. I'm counseling people and I'm dying. We had a guy that came to us and said, he felt guilty because he was making a lot of money, and his friends never allowed him to be who he was. So he felt ashamed about trying to brag about the fact that he was making money, because he didn't want people to see him to say anything else, because they didn't want to see him as being weak if he said anything different. So we all live in a society where looking good is the right thing to be. And so, you spend a lot of time on dress, you spend a lot of time on driving the right car, you spend a lot of time on going to the right restaurants, picking the right things to do. But at the same time, we don't spend a lot of time talking and being authentic, or allowing ourselves to be authentic, because we don't want people to see the real us.
Yeah. Eric, if you don't mind, I want to add to what Shanti and JG just shared. One of the things that I had to do is, and I'm noticing in the comments, is that I had to free myself from people pleasing. I didn't realize I was addicted to it. I didn't know that people pleasing had such a stronghold on my life. And it's actually connected to the perfectionism. Growing up the oldest of four, or growing up a pastor's kid or a pastor's grandkid, I didn't realize that these unrealistic expectations of not being able to have shortcomings was something that was, I would say, a cloud over my life. But I had to get to a space where, in addition to talking to someone, I had to begin to talk to myself. I had to get in the mirror and get eye to eye with Kenny and ask Kenny, who was Kenny Hampton? Who was Kenny R. Hampton? And what is it that you really want? And so as I got more comfortable with being okay with the results of who I was, or the places that I found myself, and didn't measure myself against what I did or did not do on someone else's list, I began to feel stronger and begin to feel the chains of the bondage of perfectionism or people pleasing fall off of my wrist. Because I was able to be more comfortable with, I am where I am, and this is who I am, and I'm doing the best that I possibly can, and I'm okay with that. And I am on my path to becoming the best version of myself. But I have to get in the mirror and say, Kenny, what is it that you really do want? And that has been helpful to me in my own mental wellness journey. And I encourage a lot of Black men to do the same, because ultimately we try to live up to these expectations of others. But what are the expectations for yourself? Yeah. And ask yourself, can I just be real with me and say, it's okay to be who I am today?
Oh, that sounded really good, Kenny. You've been a long way. Not the conversation we had 30,000 feet in the air when you was boo-hoo.
Listen, God has a funny way of showing us lessons.
Amen. Shanti, you about to say something?
I just wanted to add that as a Black woman, particularly, whether it was in the entertainment industry for me, or I think so many of us deal with this, especially in the workplace, is, having to deal with microaggressions. Things like, I remember one time one of my bosses told me, you need to be more of a bitch. What does that mean? And that's very difficult to deal with, or just, having to deal with a condescending boss, or having to deal, with, just that white male superiority, feeling that you get from those men when you're in those big senior staff meetings, in some of the larger companies. And so I was always like kind of second guessing myself, and the self-doubt, and a lot of that led to rather, stress and anxiety for me in the workplace, and not really knowing how to place those feelings or properly deal with them. And I just think we deal with that so much as Black women, and the microaggressions can be really triggering for us. And so that is why, making sure, going back to what John Gregory said, talk to somebody, making sure you have, the right support system or a therapist. And I do think the conversation is normalized more in terms of having a therapist in the entertainment industry now, or seeking the support and help that you need, or even taking a mental health day. I've seen labels give mental health days now, but microaggressions, I just wanted to bring that up because they can be really triggering, and they can really, really hurt our overall mental health.
I totally agree. For years, and just recently, we've been really talking about this now, is that in music, and it's once again, everybody, today is music and mental health. What I'll say is that Shanti has been in the music business for a long time. We're talking mental health, as well as now we are licensing and en masse to the amazing African-American male wellness agency. So there's a tie-in of music and mental health and all that we're talking about. But throughout my music career, I've had what we call a trusted ear coalition, that while I'm working on music, there are people that I let listen to it who I can get critical judgment from that won't slow down my creativity. They could encourage me and keep me productive, but yet give me the slight nudges that would not stop me in my tracks. And it's very important to have that kind of trusted ear in our lives as well. That's what you guys are saying. I just never really put two and two together that we need to talk to someone. But, you know, yesterday we have a process podcast, and I was talking about how much power I've given my wife. I said, I rarely ever tell my wife no, but I also trust that she doesn't abuse the yes, right? So who we talk to can really have a very strong hold on our best friend. May talk us out of our passion, may talk us out of our purpose, may talk us out of a healthy day, not because they think bad of us, they really think they're helping us. But at the same time, what Kenny said, which was so powerful, is like, yo, we got to talk to ourselves as well. Like, take the time to encourage yourselves in general. I've completely jumped away from these questions because I'm so in tune to what you guys have been saying. I want to just touch back real quick on that perfectionist aspect. And we talked one time, Kenny, about you looking in the dictionary. You were on the plane. Brother John Gregory alluded to the idea. You were 30,000 feet in the air, and you looked up the definition of perfectionist. And you said the definition was as if they had a picture of you in the book. Right? How did you unchain yourself from that was crippling your perception of yourself by trying to meet all the standards that you were upholding, as well as what you were trying to uphold for other people?
Yeah, to be honest with you, the weight of all of the pressures of trying to not make a mistake and to show up perfect, that day it had just got too much to bear. And I was in the midst of an email thread that at 5:45 in the morning, it really just took everything out of me. Unfortunately, when you are a perfectionist or you're a struggling perfectionist, your cup is darn near empty because you find yourself pouring out so much and not really pouring into yourself, that you find yourself with very little to tap into. And on that morning, when I discovered, looking at the definition of perfectionist, because I really wanted to know what was wrong with me. Like, why am I so addicted to not showing any flaws? And why is it that I don't want anyone to talk about my shortcomings? Like, come tell me, but don't tell anybody else.
Yeah.
Don't put me on a billboard and let others know that I am coming short in a few areas that's impacting my work performance.
I didn't send 174 emails.
Well, yeah, I had 174 drafts in my inbox where I would start an email and I would stop because I didn't think that it was the right verbiage, or I was representing myself as far as my intelligence. When I say it's deep, perfectionism is deep. Yeah. And so I found myself at a point where I wanted to break away so bad that the only reaction that I can even express in that moment was just tears. And so to release what was happening in that moment was, I would say, a pivotal moment in my journey, because I really felt the weight just literally coming off my shoulders as the tears flowed down my face, because I no longer cared what people around me thought about how I looked. I had the flight attendant, I had passengers looking at me boo-hooing, and I did not care. I was sitting next to JG, my boss, right? And I was vulnerable enough to say, you know what? I want to get to a space where this is the real me. I'm hurting. I'm gonna let it out, but this is my beginning. This is my decision to begin to live my new life, freeing myself from the chains of perfectionism. But I appreciate JG for even creating that space, for even allowing me to even have that moment. And I felt okay. And I felt as though I can go ahead and do that, because if I didn't have that, I would be still in a space where I think that I need to uphold myself to a degree of perfectionism and not showing that, you know what, I do got some shortcomings?
Well, I was going to say, Eric, that you asked, the first thing I said was to find somebody to talk to. The second thing I think we all have to learn is the power of no. Is that we really got to begin in your life is to begin to say no. And that when people put things on you or say things about you, you got to be able to have the ability to say, no, that doesn't apply to me. That might be your interpretation, but that's not my interpretation. And I think that what we do with our lives oftentimes is we are walking around agreeing to stuff, agreeing to what people say about us or think about us, and we don't say no. And I know that there are a lot of people who I've really worked with and told them, hey, learn to say no. When people ask you to do something and you know you don't want to do it, say no. When people come to you and they say, like people oftentimes say to me, well, you're awful arrogant. You know, when she talked about that microaggression in the workforce, you know, Black men, oftentimes we get called arrogant, but they call white men confident. And so a lot of times when people tell me I'm arrogant, I go, no, I'm not. I have a lot of confidence. I'm not going to allow you to put a label on me because it makes you feel better. And so we have to continue to learn to continue to take the power of our destiny. And so find somebody to talk to, learn to say no. And then the other thing that you want to do is learn the power of I am. Learn to give your own self affirmations. We oftentimes let other people define us, and that definition of us is how we live. It was funny you were saying something about music. Don't get mad at me when I say this. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was listening to this song. My wife, she is probably the best DJ in America, and she has really great songs. But I was listening to these songs the other day, and I was like to myself, I said, listen to these people all had some problems. They had relationship problems. They had man problems, girl problems. I said, if I listen to all these songs, I'm going to be depressed hearing about all this stuff. I said, the music industry itself puts out there a lot of things that make you think about the things that are happening to you at that moment in that time. And it does not always give you a outlet to say it's going to be okay.
Yeah. That's so interesting because a lot of times the songs don't bring solution. But I will say that a sad song without a solution sometimes will let somebody know that they're not alone. You know, so it's so interesting. We all are still waiting for Mary to get back to my life. Like, get back to when you was hurting. It's like, no, let the woman be happy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, go back to the hurt. I want to just add on to one thing. I was thinking so much of what you were saying, Shanti, but it's important because I think somebody in this chat may need to hear this. How do you not go back to that tough day? That day that where you were considering taking the pills, right? When you think now of who you are today, looking at what you were facing, right? Is it trying to avoid what you were facing or whatever? But how do we not get back to that day? Because I think that's one of the helpful things. Somehow you were able to turn the corner before that happened. But how do you not get back to that day?
That's a great question. Because life be lifing, things get tough. I am, I see my therapist when I feel like I need to. So I also need to add that my sister passed away unexpectedly 5 years ago.
Sorry.
And that thank you. It was awful. And it nearly sent me into another downward spiral. And then I had to become my mom's caregiver who had Alzheimer's. And so now mom has been gone for about 2.5 years. So it took a lot of work for me to not allow myself to go back down that rabbit hole. And that was going to therapy. That was, walking, getting out and exercising, finding my love language for wellness, as I like to call it. I realized after I experienced a lot of those tragedies and the loss, I started traveling, whether it was short trips or day trips or, going overseas. And so I had to constantly pour back into myself. I had to really be unapologetic about me. Going back to what John and Kenny were saying no is a complete sentence. I've been doing that. I feel really good about telling people no, because I was always the person to try to do everything for everybody and, would squeeze myself till I found myself getting stressed out again. And the other thing too is I surround myself with people that come from a place of empathy and not sympathy. I don't need nobody feeling sorry for me. I just need the right people who can kind of put themselves in my shoes or try to, understand or empathize with me in terms of what I've been going through. And so I just really focus on me now. And if I feel myself going back down that rabbit hole, I'll see my therapist if I need to. I'm not ashamed to take antidepressants if I need to. When I really was in crisis, I had to start taking antidepressants. And I'm focusing on living for me. It's so much going on right now in the world that is triggering that I got to first focus on Shanti Das. And the last thing I'll say is not to impose my faith on anybody, but I am, a child of God. And so I pray every morning, every night, all throughout the day, just asking God, to protect my peace, to protect my mental wellness, and to give me the wherewithal to get help and to seek help and not be ashamed about it if I find myself ever back in those places. And so that is why also this work is so fulfilling for me, because if I can help somebody else, it makes me feel good about myself. So that's another way of getting my endorphins going. It's like pouring myself into my community and really being able to bring this critical work to the community and what we do within Silence the Shame. But I mean, for the first time in my life, I'm 53 years old and I don't care what anybody is saying. I don't care what the Joneses. I ain't trying to keep up with the Joneses. I'm really doing me for the first time in my life, and it feels really good. And I have some good days and some bad days. The other thing too is I don't ignore the bad days, right? I lean into them and I get the help that I need instead of trying to ignore it and act like it didn't happen. I created this new little acronym for RAP, RAP. You got to rap through your mental health challenges. The R is recognizing when you have those unfamiliar feelings or when things happen. You know how we always try to act like something may happen. Yeah, if it happened, or you snapping on people all the time and that's not really your personality, you might need to check it out. So recognizing and then accepting that those feelings and those thoughts are circulating in your mind. And then P in RAP is processing through them with a licensed professional counselor or with this African-American male wellness agency. You got to talk to a professional, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about, rather, of seeking mental health help, just like you go to the doctor for a physical health problem.
First, I'm writing all this down. Empathy over sympathy. First of all, everything y'all been saying has been brilliant. If y'all see me typing, I'm writing all this down. But recognizing, accepting, and processing. Everybody knows my favorite word in the world is process. So I love that, and I thank you for that. I mean, it's so important. I want to touch on the chat is rocking. First of all, for everybody tuning in, thank you so very much. I want to just go back real quick. There's somebody, NJ Holly. Said, as a veteran who suffered from PTSD, the VA doesn't always have a good system for us. Thank you, Sweet Locks, you're on it. Any community organizations offering help, especially dealing with men or women of color? You have two great organizations right here. I want to just make sure I highlight that. Take some time to look into both of these organizations that we are talking to today, because they are offering services. And I know just in general, the African American Wellness Agency is traveling, just did a walk in Columbus, Ohio. And I believe I don't know, NJ might be somewhere, or VA, wherever you're at, I'm sure whatever city you're at, they're coming there very soon if they haven't been there, haven't just been there. When they return, or maybe go to where they are so that you can receive some of the free services that they are providing, the Mask Off campaign and things of that nature, and also look into Silence the Shame. And there are other organizations as well, but here are two right now that are rolling their sleeves and doing some phenomenal work that hopefully can be beneficial for you. So I thank you for writing that comment. In general, I do not want to hold you guys for long. There's so much we can talk about. I want to circle back real quick to make sure that people understand how they can stay in touch with the organizations that you are doing and what you might be planning in the foreseeable future for the rest of the year or for next year. I'll start with you, Shanti. If somebody like NJ Holly is looking to learn more, Silence the Shame to learn more, anything else you want to expound upon with the organization?
Absolutely. So again, shout out to everybody that's watching. Please, again, it's on the screen. Check out our website, silencetheshame.com. We do a lot of programs. We do community conversations, which is a fancier title for a panel discussion, but we do those, and we have a lot that's on our YouTube page. It's still all great relevant content that's been there, for the past couple of years. And we talk to licensed professionals. We talk to athletes. We talk to celebrities, actors, musicians, around mental health and erasing the stigma. We do mental health trainings for major corporations. So you might work for a large corporation and we can come into your company. We offer like 8 to 9 different trainings with different facilitators. We also have outreach and awareness initiatives in the city of Atlanta. We have an app. We partnered with Microsoft, and we have a first iteration of the Silence to Shame app to help from a wellness perspective. And you can get that for free if you have an iPhone or an Android phone. And next year we're doing a lot. We're doing a women's wellness initiative and luncheon in May. We'll have our gala again. May 5th is National Silence to Shame Day. So that's a day that we take action and do a lot nationally on a social media scale of bringing these conversations to the forefront and continuing to help erase stigma. Also, I want to shout out, we have Silence to Shame University, which is our college ambassador program. We just launched our first cohort in the state of Georgia, and they're graduating next week. We had 28 students from the HBCUs here in Atlanta, also KSU and Georgia State University. And so we're trying to train up our young people. And these are leadership training programs, all with an emphasis on mental well-being. And so we are really in the community doing a lot of work. You can follow us on social media at Silence to Shame, or follow me at Shanti Das 404. And lastly, we are a national nonprofit 501c3. We only survive off of the support from the community. So if you find it in your heart, no donation is too small or big, you can text STS Cares with an S, to 707070. And we just appreciate it. I thank you, Eric, for bringing this conversation to the forefront as we continue to unmask a lot of these problems in our community. But it starts with just being honest with yourself and then not being afraid to ask for help. We are here to help. So thank you.
That's right. Can you tell me one more time? STS Cares?
Yeah. CARES. STS Cares.
And then what was the text it to what number?
To 707070.
That's what Alexa's on it. There we are. Thank you. So
70.
Say what? Okay. Got it. Did they put it up there? STS Cares to 7070. Is that correct?
It just needs another 70 at the end.
7070.
Yeah.
3 70s. Got you. And my grandma gonna play the picket too. She gonna put that number. She gonna hit that straight in box. All right.
I sound like my uncle back in the day.
Listen, we play. Listen, get my jacket. We gonna play 70. We gonna hit that number. I thank you so very much, Brother John, Gregory, Brother Kenny Hampton. Anything that you guys would like to share as well?
Well, I would just like to share that our campaign, Mask Off, we will be doing it in several more different cities. We are having our Atlanta Black Men's Wellness Day, September 14th. Where we will be providing free biometric health screenings. And we also do a mental wellness survey, wellness checkup too there also. So people can come out. It'll be at Morehouse University. It starts at 7. We're done at 12. So come get your biometric screenings. It's all free. It's for Black men. And I tell Black women, if you got a Black man, bring him out to get his biometric screenings. And if you are a Black woman who want to come out and support, it's a nice place to see Black men are trying to be healthy. So you could see him getting his number, and you might get his number. So we do invite you to do that. And what Kenny will tell you is that our Mask Off campaign, if you want to, he will give you some more information. But we're going to do this Mask Off campaign. We have monthly sessions on bringing Black men out to talk and have conversation. We have a Facebook page for Black men to log in. It's a private page where Black men can log in and have conversations with Black mental therapists, because there's not a lot of Black therapists out there, particularly that will deal with Black men. But we try to provide those resources. And as we travel around the country, we've done in LA, we're in Atlanta, Memphis, in Tennessee, Philadelphia. We will continue to want our Mask Off campaign with you, Eric Roberson, the song we want to keep pushing, but we also want to push conversation.
That's right.
We want Black men and Black women to start opening up and talking to each other. It is okay to talk. Around in America right now, particularly in white America, they call this thing talk therapy. And Dr. Phil, when he stopped doing practicing, he said he stopped practicing because what he realized, a 45-minute conversation, most people would get healed by just having a 45-minute conversation and not having to come back week after week after week. And that's what he would do on TV. You know, he'd come on TV for an hour and he'd capture everybody. He made a lot of money. So, Kenny, what do you think what's left to do?
Well, Eric, I just want to thank you on behalf of the entire organization for your partnership and for the work that you've done in this space of mental wellness with us. So kudos to you and the entire team. But we do have 9 more stops on our Saving Black Men's Lives national tour. And so we're coming to a city near you, literally bringing the clinic to the community in cities such as Memphis, Tennessee, Louisville, Kentucky. We'll be in Toledo this weekend. We'll be finishing our tour in Los Angeles, California, the first weekend of November. And so please follow us at aawellness.org to learn more information. You want to follow us on AA Wellness Agency on all social media platforms. And we also got a podcast where JG and I, we sit and we have a conversation with some of our honorary chairs around the country, such as Dion Branch or Penny Hardaway and other notable individuals who are joining us in this space of self-disclosing, letting our men know that it's okay to talk, but more importantly, identify what we're masking with and what's behind the mask so we can live our true, authentic lives and free ourselves from some things that's been holding us bondage for just way too long. And so we're excited about the work that we've done, but we're more excited about the work that we're getting ready to do. And so thanks to everybody that's in the chat that's supporting us. Please, we would love to meet you in person. So log online, let us know that you are in this fight with us. And we can't thank everyone enough for the support that we've received tonight during this important conversation.
And I'd just like to congratulate Eric and Kenny for letting the whole universe know that they're no longer perfectionists.
Now, we're recovering perfectionists.
Far from it. Far from it. I appreciate it. Listen, Shanti, I owe you some pancakes in the very near future.
They're great pancakes.
They're the best ever.
Yes.
Say no, I'm gonna hold you to that, brother.
No, listen, I got you. Look, I can't cook anything past 12 o'clock, but my breakfast is really up to par.
Man, the sausage, the
I'm a breakfast girl anyway. Coming from Atlanta, my mom went in on breakfast, so I'm looking forward to that.
I love it. Listen, I can't thank you enough for your time. I just want to say, hold on. Not if you don't have crispy. So Brandon, man, thank you very much. My pancakes are soft in the middle, but the edges are crispy edges. Yes, come on now. We cook in grease. That's another story. I want to just make sure I touch on where we are. Just some of the points that I wrote down, just so we can circle back to make sure we leave these particular parts fresh. Find a person to talk to. Find the right person to talk to. Find someone who is helpful, who keeps you productive, who will challenge you in the areas that you need to be challenged at, but yet can keep you walking in the path that God is nudging you towards walking in. Learning the word no, how to receive it and how to say it. If you are not saying no to someone, you are probably saying no to yourself. So understanding and learning the word no. In the song Mass, there's a line that say, I'm willing to chance the uncertain rather than stand in what's certainly not for me. Dedicated to who we were yesterday, but yet take the time to learn who we are today and be dedicated to that person. Find out what that person needs and say no to anyone who is trying to keep you being the person who you were before. Pour back into yourself. Pour back into yourself. So self-explanatory, that's beautiful. Talking to your therapist, I thank you for that. And also finding the right therapist. There are several people in this chat room who even said, hey, I'm a therapist in this city and things of nature. Feel free to go back through this chat. Feel free to comment, reply to them, start some conversation. A lot of times we say, oh, well, I'm in this particular situation. There's no therapist here. Man, get online and talk to somebody. I have so many friends who are talking to therapists online, and it's just as helpful. Before you say no to a situation because of being a perfectionist, get the help that you need. Also, empathy over sympathy. We don't got no time for no sympathy. I don't need that, but I would love some empathy. Thank you for that, Shanti. That was amazing. We love rap, right? So rap, recognizing, accepting, and processing. Tying this one more time into music and mental health, what I would say, and I'll say this in closing, is that I've been very fortunate to work in an industry where failure is necessary. I'm in the studio failing all the time. In order for me to get to a song that works, I have to do a lot of things wrong most times to challenge and discover it. We're playing wrong notes, we're hitting wrong notes, things of nature to find a certain place. And guess what? We have to accept that in life that is necessary too. It is important for you to find your way. You have to stub your toes sometimes. You have to walk into the brick wall. You have to do certain things, but know that you are strong enough to handle it. Know that you can get up and dust yourself off. Know that you don't have to worry about who's watching you and whether they're going to laugh at you, because they'll be the first one copying you when you're successful. Right? So take the time to find out who you are today. Challenge yourself. If you want to encourage somebody today, go find a mirror right now and shoot your shot. All right? So thank you once again, Shanti. Please, everybody, go check out Silence to Shame. Go get her book as well, Silence to Shame. And thank you, John Gregory, as well as Kenny Hampton. I look forward to seeing you guys in the near future as well in these mask off events that we're doing. And also get their books as well. The Underdog Mentality and the 8 Things I Learned from Oprah. Last question, and we're out of here. Brother John Gregory, give me one of the most important things that you learned from Oprah.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the
No
world.
matter what you go through, you wake up, things happen, people die, you lose people, you lose money, you lose positions, you get a divorce, all of that. Guess what you learn? It's not the end of the world.
The end of the world. Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Music and Mental Health. John Gregory, Kenny Hampton, Shanti Das. I'm Eric Roberson. Thank you so very much. We have a private studio side called Join the Process. If you are interested in hearing the music that I'm currently making, the album currently making, and also the weekly podcast that we have privately there, all you have to do is go to jointheprocess.com. There's even a free option where you can hear the music as well. I invite you to check it out. I also invite you to check out these amazing nonprofit organizations as well. God bless y'all. I'm gonna throw some music on, and then we are leaving out, huh? Y'all get some healthy and good food tonight, amen.
I want to connect with these brothers. I want to connect with y'all organization, so hopefully we can collaborate at some point.
I'm definitely we're gonna connect the dots tonight, amen. Let's not waste any time.
But Shanti, you probably should know that I think somebody's going to be contacting you. We might all be at the Congressional Black Caucus together.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Bing, 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 bing. All right, appreciate y'all. God bless. Let's go out with some music. Here we go. Oh, how about I got muted. That's what technology. Let's go.
Had it on so long, I don't recognize who I am. The world doesn't really know me. Whenever I try to show me, they scratch their heads because they don't even know really who I am. Allow me the time to introduce who I am to me once again. One day, I think I will know him better, and then maybe we'll get together so I can introduce myself to you once again. Can't wear this mask any longer.